So, ladies, gentlemen, good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you are from. I'm not sure. I see in the registrations list we have about people from 10 different countries, 9 or 10 different countries joining us today, and a very warm welcome to all of you. Hope you all are doing well amidst this pandemic. I'm sure it's affecting everyone around the world, but at the same time, I believe it has opened up many different opportunities for people to learn new stuff, and VBA is one of them. So can everyone hear me clearly, loud and clear?
Yes.
All right, so let me continue. So first, my background, I'm a chemical engineering student, fresh graduate, recently working at Tialog, which is in Shanghai and Malaysia. So I was very lucky to come back from Shanghai before the pandemic hit. Otherwise, I'll be stranded there. And so now I usually spend my time doing process calculations for chemical engineering. And one day I thought, these process engineering calculations are boring. Is there a way to make them easier or automated? And that's where VBA come in. So today I'm going to cover 4 simple topics. My background, first I'll tell you a little bit about myself, what is VBA, the basic syntax of VBA, and a few hands-on examples. So to make sure that you get the best of the hands-on examples, make sure you download the worksheet that I have provided for you. It has several features in it that will make it very easy for you to learn what is VBA. So Junhang, in my introduction, he mentioned that I have a lot of coding experience. Well, technically, you have to stretch the definition of coding a bit. But my first website was established in 2003. At that time, it was with a dial-up modem, and it was made with HTML 4.0. And it was on this hosting website, zerocache.com. And at that time, they only gave you 5 megabytes of space. If you use an iPhone and take a photo now, it's more than 5 megabytes. So you can imagine how technology has progressed throughout these years. And in the age of 2002, 2003, when you're making a website, you have got to use Notepad. And this is a HTML text that I used at that time. So I thought, well, at first it was a hobby. But then I was invited to this competition called the Jamboree on the Air, Jamboree on the Internet in 2011. And it was a very, very interesting competition for scouts. So I was enrolled in the website design competition. So you're thinking, well, what has scouts got to do with a website competition? Well, I didn't care what was the relationship, I just joined. So this was me and my teammate. So this is me and this is Wayne, my teammate. Wayne is now a software engineer at Amazon, so how things have changed. And this was our website that we submitted, and we got champion for this. And this is a very lousy website. So you might be thinking, how did such a website win a champion in a website design competition? Well, in 2011, standards were lower. So my university life was pretty not related to engineering. I visited a Shell offshore platform in Sabah in 2016, joined a few chemical engineering competitions, was involved in an app development, organized a hackathon, organized a chemical engineering conference, and just to round it off, I joined a literature competition. So that's how my university life is. So you might be asking, what has this got to do with programming? So that is exactly why I'm going to tell you today. Anyone can be a programmer. Anyone can start programming. You don't have to be a computer science student. Simple as that. So in the form that you fill in, you were asked to name several common programming languages that you know, right? So for let's see. So you listed maybe a lot of languages here. We have something like 14 languages, and R and Spark are usually for data science and machine learning, which is gaining some traction nowadays. The traditional ones, we have Python and C++. For specialized engineering applications, we have MATLAB and Octave. Octave is the open source version of MATLAB. And for web and apps development, you have Java and JavaScript. And it's starting to get blurred now. Even Windows applications start to use Java. We have PHP, SQL, and Perl for server-side and database applications. And we have HTML and XML. So by the definition of programming languages, both of these are technically not considered a real programming language. It's a markup language. So in a way, you can say it's not really programming, but I'm going to digress. So where does VBA fit in? Where does VBA fit in? So from the name you can guess, where does VBA fit in this list? VBA is a derived from Visual Basic. The full name is Visual Basic for Applications. So this is the full name. It's integrated into Microsoft Office apps. So Visual Basic is the language that we use to write Windows applications. So Microsoft Windows is written in Visual Basic, Excel, Office, PowerPoint, and so on. They are written in Visual Basic. So Visual Basic for Applications is a language that allows you to add features into Excel, Word, PowerPoint, and other Microsoft applications. And the main thing that allows it to do so is that it allows for user-defined functions. That means I can create my own functions and run them in Excel. That's how I create the additional functions that I want to. For those who have some background in programming, Visual Basic for Applications is an object-oriented programming language, OOP language. So for those who are new to programming, this will not mean anything to you. But for those who have some background in programming, this means that Visual Basic for Applications allows for the creation of objects. You can define a class, subclass, class inheritance. You can call class methods and edit class attributes. And that actually gives it a lot of power, similar in magnitude to that of Python or C++. But I would say Visual Basic for Applications is an underdog. It's sort of not that well known when compared to Python and so on, but it's actually as powerful as them. So, where do we use VBA? A lot of talk about how good VBA is, right? So, where do we use VBA? The first is automation. When we have complex logic relationships, when we have to manipulate certain matrices, when we need to do something with a numerical or graphical method, it's very suitable for VBA. Repetition. When we have something that we have to do one step, but we have to do it 100 times, 1,000 times, and so on, VBA is a good choice. And next will be data analysis. This will be specifically for Excel. So if you need to format your data in a certain way, you can use VBA. You need to build a regression model, you can use VBA. If you are looking for the max, minimum, first, last, blank values, you can use VBA. But arguably the best function of VBA is dissemination. Everyone can code. I'm sure almost everyone has a Microsoft Office application, right? So you don't have to install a special software like Python or C++. You can just open your Microsoft Excel and you are now a programmer. Simple as that. Without prior knowledge, without specialized software, you can be a programmer. Yeah. So before I continue, I would like you guys to open up your Microsoft Excel and I'm going to show you the basics of the VBA IDE. IDE means Integrated Development Environment. The Integrated Development Environment. And the IDE is where we do our coding, to put it very simply. So let me escape from these slides. And I'm going to reality tab to my Excel sheet. So can everyone see my Excel sheet?
Yes.
Yeah, okay. So I'll give you a few seconds to open your Excel sheet. And to access the VBA IDE, you click on the Developer tab and you click on Visual Basic right here. Or you can press Alt F11. So the first question many will have is, I don't have this Developer tab, right? Do you have this Developer tab? I don't think so. So how do you show it? Click on File, Options, Customize Ribbon. Click here, All tabs. Main tabs here. Click on this developer and click add. So make sure it's on your right side. Once it's added, click OK. Then it should show up here. So I'll give you a few seconds. Hope you guys can enable your developer tab. If you are using a different version of Excel, it will be slightly different, but I'm sure you can find it. It's in File, Options. So if you have any trouble opening the developer tab, you have type in your chat box and someone might assist you. Alright. So if you manage to, let's go ahead and click on the Visual Basic Editor. You will see this screen. So this is the Visual Basic Editor or IDE. And on the left side, you have the project pane. So make sure that your Excel file is open here, and you can see the sheets that you have in your file and this workbook. So the other two things might or might not appear depending on your settings, but they are not important in this case. So let's make sure that you have this VBA project open. So this is the properties tab. This is the main pane, and this is the immediate window. So the main pane is used for coding. The immediate window is used if I want to run any code. I want to run a code and type this here. And for VBA code, usually what I will do is I will right click on this. I will insert a module. So a module is a specialized piece of code that used to store code, and you can rename it to whatever you want. Let's say I call it I love VBA, just for fun. And I can now write down the code in here. So there's a new term option explicit here. I will explain what it is later on. So this is basically the basic VBA editor window or the IDE. So let me go back to the slides. Alright, so can everyone see my slides?
Yep.
And if you cannot see the slides, remember that you have to pin the window. You have to double click on the window on the screen, then only it will go to full screen. Okay, so let me continue a little bit on this thing. So to master VBA, there are only 4 components. Yes, I'm not kidding you. There are only 4 components. I'm not joking. The 4 components are variables, pointers, function and subs, and bunches and loops. So VBA is a programming language. So you have to have an input and output. So you get in the input and store it in a variable. That's why I say it's a container for storing a piece of information. You manipulate the variable to get something. The function is the output. You manipulate the variable to get the output, and you want to take out this output. Then bunches and loops allows you to repeat the steps above as many times as required. So this is the 4 main components of VBA. So later on, I will continue to start working on the 4 components. So I will use the developer tab a lot, so make sure you have it open. So first we look at variables. This is a lot of things, but let me go through one by one. The first is the type name. So a type name is what is the type of the variable that you are using. So let's look at the first 3. We have string. A string is any piece of text. It can be a single letter, it can be empty space, it is also a string. An integer is either a positive, negative, or 0. And we have the Boolean number, which is either, we have the Boolean variable, which is either true or false. So let me go into the IDE and I'll show you a few things. Okay. So let's see. Again, for anyone who have trouble opening the developer tab, please click on File, Options, Customize Ribbon, click here, all tabs, click on Developer and click on Add. This is how you enable the developer tab. Alright, so I'll use the immediate window now, so let me maximize the immediate window. So I can use it to type any kind of variable that I want. Let's say I will let x equals to 5. Right, nothing happens, right? Because I have just asked it to save x equals to 5. I did not ask it to do anything, so it returns nothing. So to see what's the value of 5, I type print x. Just like this. You get 5. Then you can type in print type name x, you get integer. So it shows that 5 is an integer. So you can try with other applications. Let's say y equals to hello. Print y. Look at hello, the string. And it can be z equals to true, print z. So you get true. Okay, I see some questions about how to open the general and immediate tab. Sometimes it disappears for some reason. You click on view, immediate window. So then it shows up in the middle. Yeah, hopefully you can get the immediate window up. So this is a very basic syntax in VBA. So these are very simple variables. Let's go on to more difficult variables. Right, so let me come back to this variable slide. Okay, so we have simple strings, we have integers, we have Boolean variables, but usually we'll be working with numbers, right? This is Excel after all. So in VBA, we have two types of number variables. They are called single, they are called double. So the difference is in the accuracy. The single can go to 30 digits, something like that, and double can go up to 300 digits. So for most cases, you use double as the variable to store numbers. Yeah, and we have also a special variable name called variant. A variant can accept either string or double. So that means if I'm not sure what I want to put it in, I can name it as variant. And then later on, I can insert either a string or a number. An array is a collection of elements. So I will not talk too much about arrays now, but later on you'll see it. And there's a special type variable called empty, which is when you try to call a variable that is not defined. So there are actually many more. You have long, range, date, currency, and so on. So there are many other variables that will take a very long time to explain. So I will go through the basics now. So the next slide here I have is operators. So we have variables defined. We have to do something to the variables to get what we want. So the most simple two are these two. The mathematical operations, exponent, and actually the third one, assignment. So let me go into the IDE and I'll do a few examples right here. So let me delete everything here. Right, so let's start with simple example. X equals to 1, y equals to 2, z equals to x plus y, string z. So you get 3. Hopefully everyone can get 3. And we can print the type name of that. So you get integer. So z is an addition of two integers. Z is also an integer. So let's define a equals to hello, b equals to bye. So Excel allows you to add strings. So what happens is that it combines the two strings together and you get a combination of the two strings. So this is how you add up. And more difficult exponents, you can also you can also type in the operation you want here. So let's say 2 exponent 2, make it 4. Simple as that. And you can also use operators on Boolean variables. Let's say to print 2 is equal to 2, you get 2. Let's define x as 2. When print x equals to 2, you get 2. Print x equals to false, you get false. So what I'm doing now is, when I'm putting an equal sign inside this bracket, it's asking me to compare whether x is equal to true. Since I just defined x equal to true, of course I get true. And when I define x is equal to, if I define x equal to false, here I will get false. So simple as that. So in this bracket, this is a comparison operator. Outside the bracket is an assignment operator. That means I assign the value true to the value to the variable x. So this is a very important distinction, and it's best if you can differentiate the difference between a comparison and assignment operator. It's the same, the equal sign, but it has two different uses. So let's look at the further more difficult comparison operators. We have this symbol is not equal to, this is less than, greater than, less than or equal to, greater than or equal to. These are Boolean operators, and this is a negation operator. So let me show the bottom two variables, two sets of operators here, because they are the easiest to understand. Okay, I'm seeing some questions about how to get the general. You click view and click code. That's how you get the general tab. Yeah, just here. Click on view and click on code. Okay, so let me clear the immediate window here. And let's say I get x equals to true, y equals to false. Just to set up the stage here. And let me print x and y. So I get false. So n is an operator where if one of them is false, the answer will be false. Otherwise, it's true. So that is the meaning of the operator n. So we have the operator or. Or means that as long as one is true, the answer is true, otherwise it's false. So when you enter, you get true. And Boolean operators also work with a negation operator, so not X, you get false. So not gives you the opposite of X. X is defined as true, I put X, I put not, it becomes false. So simple as that. If you want to challenge yourself, you can put in a very complicated string of operators like X equals to true, and Y equals to false, and not Y equals to true, and Excel will calculate based on the order operations. So first, what Excel does is it looks into a bracket here. So it evaluates X equals to true, the answer is true. Not true, answer is false. Y equals to false is true, so you have false and true, so the answer is false. And not Y equals to true, the answer is true, so you get false. So final answer is false. So you can type in a lot of complicated expressions just to see what it does. And of course, in the immediate window, it doesn't have any use here, but in actual applications, knowing how to resolve this kind of logic expressions is quite important in programming. So if you want, you can play a little bit with it while I go to the next slide over here. Alright, so I have introduced to you what are variables and operators, but what can we do with them? We're trying to do something with them, right? And the way we do things in VBA is to use either functions or subroutines. So a function is something that has input and output and can be called. It must have at least one input. It can have one input or no input. It can have an output or no output. But usually we will have at least one input and one output. And it can be called inside the sheet. So later I will show you how do I call this function. So a sub is a subroutine. This is a short form for subroutine. It has only input and no output. And it can be run inside the IDE. So a function can be public or private. So this is an important distinction. So later I will show you what it means. And recommend to declare all variables before use is optional but mandatory if option explicit. So let me show you what I mean by this sentence right here. So let me go back to my IDE here. So I'll delete the immediate window. And I won't use the immediate window anymore. For function, I will use this. So make sure I have selected the module here. Let me rename it to something normal like module 1. So we have this option explicit here. I'm going to delete this sentence first. And let me define a new subroutine. So sub S. Let's call it testing. That's just a name. And you have an open close bracket here. Click enter. Press enter and you see the end sub coming up here automatically. That means that you must define whatever your subroutine contains inside this space. Hope that's clear to you? Alright, so the first important thing that I want to show you is comments. So you can put a single quotation mark and you can type anything you want. So this is a comment. That means this line will not be evaluated by the VBA compiler. It will not try to read this line. So usually this is a way for us to write reminders for ourselves what we want this thing to do. And let's say I make this subroutine a very simple one. I'll just ask it to bring in a sentence in the immediate window. So what I do is I type in debug print, and then since this is a string, I have to use this double quotation marks for a string, and then I type in hello. Right. So I get this. You can see VBA actually automatically adds these spaces, but it's actually not that important. So I can click on run. So it prints out the word hello in the immediate window. So this is a subroutine. It can be run. You can run it by pressing this, F5. Okay. Can everyone run it? No issues here? Okay. So let me show you this option explicit menu. So let's say I don't directly type in the hello here. I put in X and I define a variable to store the word hello. So let me delete this and I will define a new variable by using the keyword vim X as string. So this is the way you define a new variable. And let me just type X equals to the string hello. So just to try out, I'm going to delete this. I'm going to comment out this sentence. I'm going to make it a comment so that Excel doesn't read the sentence. So Excel will only read this line, this line, this line, and this line. That's all. So let me click one. So it shows up hello. As expected, right? So let me delete this and let me go up here and put back the option explicit keyword that I saw just now. and I click on run. So it says compile error, variable not defined. So what's the problem here? The problem is that if you have turned on option explicit, you must define every variable before you use. So I have not defined X because I commented on this line, so this Excel doesn't read this line anymore. So to Excel, I didn't define the variable X. So what do is I can uncomment the line, click on stop here, and then click on run. So it now runs as expected. So this is the option explicit keyword. It's actually quite useful, but sometimes you might want a convenient way and you just don't write this in. It's okay. For me, it works both ways. So this is a subroutine. A function I will go into later on. But for now, I hope you guys are okay with this. Any problems? Feel free to type in the chat box and I'll see if I can help you here. Alright, so let me go back to my slides here. Okay, can everyone see my slides hopefully? Alright, so the next thing I'm going to go, which is actually the last thing that you need to know, the basics of VBA, is branching and looping. So branching is a decision-making method. So let's say I have three conditions. I want, if the first condition happens, do something, otherwise do something else, otherwise do something else. Then I use this if-else conditional branching format. You must have an if. The if is mandatory, else if is optional, else is optional. So I must at least have this if sentence. Then for loops, there are many kinds of loops. And what they do is they repeat the same code again and again and again. So the most simple loop is for next. Do while loop is another kind, but I'm not going to show it this time. I'm going to show the for next loop. So what does this do is that it prints out the number from 1 to 10. Simple as that. So let me show you this very simple loop. Just make sure you get the hang of it. So let me go back to the IDE here and I'll delete these three sentences. Bin X as an integer. Type for, sorry, use I, just to be same as the slides. And for I equals to 1 to 10. I can debug the sentence, right? And then go back next. So you can see that I give it a tab here. And it's quite common practice. So when you have a function, you actually tap in just to make it easier to read. And let me delete this thing in the immediate window here, and then I'm going to run this. You can see that in the immediate window, it prints out 10 numbers. That means for I equals to 1, it prints 1. For I equals to 2, it prints 2. For I equals to 3, it prints 3, and so on until you get 10. So this is the basic loop that you're going to look a lot in this webinar. So what's the difference between debug print and print? I think I see when we've been asking this question. The difference is that debug print is the correct term. Whereas, so if you try to type in debug print here, it will work. But print only works in the immediate window. That's a simple explanation for that. So the full name is actually debug.print. Yeah, that's a simple explanation for that. Print will only work in the immediate window. If I try to type print here, it will come out error, syntax error. So that's a funny quirk of VBA that I have no idea why. Yeah, hope that answers your question. Right, so if that's okay, if I have any questions, please type in the chat box. We'll answer them as comes. And let me go into I think this might look a lot of theory and difficult to understand, but let me play a game. Let's play a game to make it easy to understand. Have you guys seen this slide before? Something like a motivational slide. It's very famous in social media. It says that if you have a word, we can add up the score for each letter, and then we get a total score. And it shows the attitude is 100. So basically, that's the main point. Attitude is 100. So why don't can we make a VBA program that helps us calculate this score? It will be an easy task and it's a very easy way to get into VBA. So let's see what we can do to make this code work. But before you try to write any code, I would suggest, as Steve said here, you make a sketch of what you are going to do, what you expect the program to run. And so this is what I'm going to ask the program to do. I'm going to ask the Excel to separate out every letter, and then for each letter, convert them into a score. Then add up the score. 21 plus 20 equals 41. Add up the score. 41 plus 9 equals 50. Add up the score one by one, and get the final answer, and then give me just the final answer. Don't give me anything else. I don't have to know anything in the middle. I just need to input the word attitude. I get 100. That's all I need. That's all I want to get. So let me go into VBA and show you this very simple example. So let me create a new module here. Insert module. So name here, I'm going to call it example 1. Let me clear this window. Let me remove this option explicit just to make it easy. And the good thing about modules is that I can right click and export the module. So if I export the module, I can give it to someone, and then he can open the module as if that, and he can run it in Excel, and it saves his work. So this allows you to share your code easily if you have something that you want to share to other people. So what do I do now is I will define a new sub. So I will call this sub word score. So it's a common practice to call function names a capital letter in the middle if you have two words, just to make it easy to read. Because if I call it word score, it's difficult to see the S there. So I'm going to put it like this, and then I will have open close bracket. So this is a way to call a sub, and then I get the end sub automatically. That means that, and you can see here that Excel has named this part word sort. So this is actually a way to jump. If you have very long code, you can jump into every sub just by clicking it here. So let me go in. Let me define a new variable called word, and it's called attitude here. Remember to use the double quotation marks because this is a string. And I'm going to use a loop. I'm going to read every single letter, one letter by one letter. And I'm going to output the score. So I'm going to use a for loop. I'm going to use I equals to, let's say, 1 to, there are 9 letters, right? So I'm going to put 9 here for now. I'm going to put next here. And then, so what I want to do is I want to get out the score, the number for each letter. So the way to get that is actually, I must take out the letter. So I'm defining a new variable, current letter equals to mid. So mid is a specialized function which I can use to take out one letter from the word. So I'm going to type word here, and for which word I'm going to type I, and then for length I'm going to type 1. This means that only one letter. And then later on, I'm going to convert this letter to its score. So the score I can get out by typing A as C, current letter. So you can see that VBA helps you. VBA gives you hints about what you are supposed to fill in each function here. So I get this, and I'm going to store it somewhere. Let's say current score equals to ASC, current letter, and then I'm going to put in the total score here. Let's say total score is equal to total score plus current score. So let me run this and see if it works. Invalid procedure call. So what did I do wrongly here? So the problem here is that I have not actually defined any of these terms, and it's going to go crazy. So let me just have a look here. Alright, so let me do the more actual way of programming. I'm going to define all the variables that I use here. So define total score as integer. Going to define current letter as string. I'm going to define I as integer. And I'm going to initialize the total score to be 0. That means I'm going to start from 0 before I do anything. And let's say at the end, I just want to know the score of what's the total score. So I'm going to use a debug tool here. Let's see if it works. No, something's wrong here. Right, so now we have something wrong here. So what do we do? Let me try this. Okay, so it seems that I've miscounted the letters in attitude here. So, but this is actually pretty fast. So before I do anything, I'll actually go step by step. So first we'll actually look at we'll make sure that Excel can actually read the letter of each word one by one. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to enter here. I'm going to comment out these 2 lines. I'm going to comment them out first. And I'm going to make sure that Excel can actually read every line properly, every letter properly. So I will put in debug room, current letter. So let me run this. So it will show up every letter in the word attitude. And this tells me that Excel has successfully read the letters properly. So I'm going to uncomment this line now. I'll comment this debug here, and I'm going to print out the number for each letter. And then I'm putting a debug print current score here. I'm going to clear the immediate window and I run it. Right. So this is not we wanted, right? So why is A equals to 65? There's something wrong. There's something horrendously wrong with this code. And the reason here is that, let me go back to my Excel here. You can click on Insert, Symbols, Symbol. If you're using an old version of Excel, the Insert symbol is right outside. Yeah. So when you see this symbol window, make sure normal text is selected and you can click on A. And here, make sure you have ASCII selected. So you can see that the internal code, the internal number for A is 65. B is 66, C is 67, 68, 69, and so on. So I want A to be 1. And this is the code that's going to come out when I call the function ASC. So what do I do? Let me go back to the IDE here. Okay. So the simple way is I'm going to minus 64 from it. This is the cheapest way, the easiest way I can get it to work, and just run. So if I look at the slides here, I get exactly the same sequence of numbers that I wanted. So that's how it works. So now I can comment out this debug print line, can close this total score here, can delete, and then I enable this debug print here, and then I run. So I get total score 100. So you might not want it to print in the immediate window because what's the point, right? So one way to do it is to show in the message box. So it's by using this keyword message box and then the variable name here. So let me comment on this line and run it. It shows a box with the number 100. So you can customize your message in here. For example, I can say the score is plus score. So I can do something like this and then run it, it gets an error. Type mismatch. The reason is that this is a string, this is an integer, it doesn't work. So to end up, you need two strings. So what I do is I type in str here. So it will convert this number to a string. Simple as that. Then I click on run. The score is 100. So there's extra space here, so later I can go back and delete the space and let me see if it works properly now. Okay, so I get this box. Alright, so hopefully you get an idea of how VBA works. It's very simple actually. You just have to, the best way you can start programming is don't jump in right immediately. Not down or even think how the program is going to work in very simple terms and then program those simple terms. That's all. So I ask it to read every letter, take out the score and end up the score. That's all. And output the score from the calculations and give me the score. That's all. So let me comment on this line. Okay, so I show you a subroutine. So this is a subroutine, right? So can I make it a function? Actually, yes, I can make it a function. But to make it a function, I use the keyword function. And the function is an input. So the input is actually put inside this box here, inside these brackets here. So I will call it word. So now, once I call it word, I can't define using this. I cannot give word an initial value anymore since I'm going to use it as a function. And let me try accessing it from the worksheet here. So in order to access it from a worksheet, I have to call it a public function. So public means that it's allowed to access it from outside the module. So now I'm in the module example 1. The worksheet is actually considered as in this sheet. So I want to access this code outside the sheet, I must make it public. So that's how it works. Yeah. So let me do this. Then let me enable one of them just to see if it works. And let me go back to Excel here. Let me try it. Let me create an empty cell. Then I can type equal. And when you type in the function name, you realize that there's a new function that I just created. So this is what we call a user-defined function. And then I can input the word here. So let's say attitude. Remember to use a double quotation marks as this is a string. Sorry. You got 0. What's the problem here? The answer is 100, right? We know the answer is 100. So we got 0. So the problem here is that I did not see, you can see that it did not printed the total score here. So it did calculate correctly, but it's not giving out the output correctly. It's because I did not ask it to give me the output. Yeah, I did not ask it to give me the output. So the way to give me the output is I must assign this variable as something. So let me assign this to total score. And I'll save it just in case it crashes. I go back to Excel, I go here, and then I run the code. So you get 100. Yeah. So you can see it works pretty well. Let me try it here. So you can type in the Excel function, and then you can refer to cells such as any other Excel function. Press enter, you get 100. So this is the correct answer here. So I can even drag it like a Excel function, and then I get a score here. So you can try. There's something wrong here. We can try it out, and you can see that the correct answer for this is actually 96. So what's wrong with this word here? If you will go back to the knowledge slide here, let me go back. The answer is 96. I get answer of 91. So what's the problem with it? So the reason is that knowledge has more than 8 letters, and I'm just reading up to the 8th letter. So there's a problem with that. So let me go back to the IDE and look back at this loop here. Sorry, let me delete this. And let me close this. Let me comment on this debug line. And you can see that there's this bit here. So this is a fixed constant. So it's not going to change no matter which letter I put in. So the way to make it fit to the length of the word is to type in length word. So this is a specific keyword to get the length of the word out. So let me save it and let me go back to Excel here and let me try again. You have enter again. So you should get 96 now. So the correct answer is 96. So I hope you enjoyed the exercise. So these are the correct answers for this function here. So let me save it. So I have a few extra credit exercise here that you can actually unhide from rows here, and you can enable them to see what I have. I might cover them at the end, but there might be not enough time to cover, so I'm going to show you just the first one. So let me show it. So modify your code so that both uppercase and lowercase letters work. So let's say I type in word score, attitude. Let me show you an attitude in small letters. I got some funny answers. It doesn't look properly. So the reason is that in Excel, the letters A, capital letter A and small letter A have a different value. So when you put it in, you get a different answer. So, is it possible to modify my code so that uppercase and lowercase letters work? So, let me ask you guys, give me a suggestion about what is the simple way to make it work for both upper and lowercase letters? Just a first impression, 30 seconds. Just think of a way and make it work. Is there a simple way that I don't have to change the majority of the code, I can just get it to work? Uppercase, lowercase, doesn't matter. Is there a way to do that? Now it's time to rack our brains, huh? Okay. See, any suggestions here? Okay, I see a few answers. I think Jennifer, he said use if and else if. It's possible, but it's difficult because you have to completely rewrite the whole loop to work. So you have use all. Yeah, I think Matthew, you said use all. Well, it doesn't look that way. I think you said variant. No. Let's see any other. value greater than 90, well, that's something that's going to be addressed later on. Okay, so I think some of you have the right mind of thinking here. So yes, I think some of you said, I can just make it the whole thing uppercase. Yeah, that's the correct answer. So to make it easy, I'm going to put in here. I'm going to change here. And then inside this bracket, this is the original word that I input, right? I'm going to use another function called uCase. And uCase will force the word to be uppercase. Let me save it. And let me just go back and type in word score here and small letter. So yeah, it works. So yeah, that's the correct answer. Congratulations. It's very simple. Just convert it to uppercase and then it will work with any type of case. So this exercise shows that creativity is something important in computer science. I see some people thinking about if, else, or other loops. It's okay, but is there a simpler way to do it? Perhaps that's the first question you might come up with. And in fact, this function, it will work if the case is a very funny mixture of upper and lower cases. Wait a minute. Misspelled it. Okay, so it will still work, even if the function, the word input is a mixture of upper and lower cases, yeah. So, okay, let me delete this, and yeah, so congratulations to those who managed to get it right. If not, then it's okay, but let's see the second example, you can get it right or not. Let me go back into the slides here, and let me go to the next one. So I'm a chemical engineering student, and perhaps I might want to give one technical example just to see if you guys have a practical usage of in a very technical field. So in chemical engineering, we talk a lot about heat transfer, mass balance, energy balance, and one of the terms that we need to calculate is the heat capacity of a substance. So heat capacity is actually the heat energy required to raise the temperature of one mole substance by 1 degree Celsius. So it's calculated from this formula. The formula, it might be very long. I'm going to use a very simplified version for this. So this guy, Steve, he wants us to calculate the heat capacity of oxygen, nitrogen, and carbon dioxide. So 3 very simple gases that you are going to see in your daily life. So don't worry if you're not a chemical engineering background. It's actually very simple, and frankly, this example applies no matter which background you are from. So there are some things that I need to talk about first here. First is that this equation has a few constants, A, B, C, and the constants are given based on the gas. So oxygen has its set of constants, nitrogen has its set of constants, and CO2 has its set of constants. The second is that the T here is the temperature. The temperature must be in the unit Kelvin. So to get the unit Kelvin, you add 273 to the unit to the value in degrees Celsius, which is a common temperature unit. And let me try to develop a function which will give me the Cp, the heat capacity of the substance, which is going to be input, and the temperature, which I'm going to use this variable to store it. So let me go to my Excel here. And let's go to example 2. So we can see that I have helpfully given you the constants that you need in this sheet. So let me do a very simple guess. Let me go back to the IDE here, insert module, and I'm going to define a new function that calculates the heat capacity of oxygen here. I'm going to type in function, let's say Cp, and in my slides I use substance and T.C as inputs. So you can separate inputs by using the comma, and then I just press enter and it shows up n function here. So of course the first thing to do is to define the constants A, B, and C. So to save some space, what I can do is I can define A, B, C as num. So you can just do a bit of a shortcut here by putting them in a single line and it will still work. So substance and P degree C here don't have to be defined anymore. So let me define P as double. Let me say T equals to P degree C plus 273 here. And then I'm going to get the values of A, B, and C right here. So just a slight note, the reason why I can enter like this is because I click on Tools, Options, and here you click on General, and here disable background compound, so that will prevent you from getting errors every time you try to type something halfway. So that's a way you can stop it from trying to. Otherwise, when you type in error, enter here, you get compound syntax error or something like that. So I'm a bit lazy, so I'm going to go here and I'm going to copy out the three constants here. I'm just going to copy out the three constants and I'm going to paste it inside the VBA. So for those from not from scientific background, the term E here means 10 to the power of. So this is negative 3.99 to the 10 to the power of negative 6. So this is the way it is displayed in Excel. So I have this written. So the simple way is just to type CP. Remember that CP is the function name. So I have to assign the answer to this function name. So I just type A plus B multiply P plus C multiply P to the power 2. It's common to have spaces between each operator. And let me see if it works properly. This is for oxygen. Okay, so I get the correct answer for oxygen. So I hope you guys can get this. If not, then you might have a look at this screen and see if you missed something. Hi, can the organizer post the links to download example sheet? The example sheet is right here. Let me give you the link. The example sheet is right here. Hopefully, I hope you managed to get the example sheet from the link in the chat box. And hopefully, you can manage to follow. I'll give you a few seconds to just open it. Alright, so we have written the function for oxygen, O2, but we have two more, right? We have N2 and we have CO2. So how do I do this? So any ideas? 30 seconds, give me your ideas in the chat box. What should I modify this function to so that it works for all three substances? 30 seconds, simple. First impression, what is your first way to do it? Yeah, feel free to type in the chat box. Okay, I see you guys are a bit confused, so it's okay, I'm going to tell you guys the answer. The answer is very simple. We're going to use an if else statement right here. Because we have the input called substance here, we can use the substance to decide which set of values of A, B, and C that we want. You know, because this formula is the same, right? It's the same for everyone. It's going to be the same for all three substances. So what we are going to do is that we are going to decide which substance to use based on the name of this substance. So I can use a if statement here, and then a second, we can put an else if statement here. And then for the last one, I use an else. I don't have to give a name, that's all. And in the end, I have to have an and. So this is a complete if-else statement. This is a complete if-else statement. So I'm going to adjust that in here. And I'm going to, so yeah, I think I missed one word here, 10. Yeah, it's supposed to have a 10. Okay. So I'm going to copy in the value for nitrogen from the Excel sheet here because I'm a bit lazy to type out. So I got it for nitrogen. And for the third one, you don't have to define what's the name of the substance because the remaining one will certainly be carbon dioxide in this case. So I'm going to count the values. Okay, so simple as that. So let me see if the code works properly. Go inside and enter again. Okay. So So I restart here, which will be end with here. Yeah, so let me see it should work properly now. I'll say, stop here. Okay, let's see if it works now. Okay, let me try and see here. Right, so I get the value for nitrogen here. Okay, that's good. Temperature 25 degrees Celsius. And when I try here, I get a value error. So what's the problem here? So the problem is that this is not a number. This is not an integer. This is a string. So what I can do is I can change this to a number, or I could just type it here. So because, let me go back to the code here. The second input here is the temperature. It must be an integer, otherwise this will not work, because I have to, it must be a number or a double or single or integer, otherwise this statement will not work properly. So let me go back here, and from this I'm going to make an exception. I'm going to just type in 300. I can get an answer. But in this case, this is in the unit Kelvin, so I'm going to minus back the 273 from here. So you can type in any calculations you want inside the function and it will still work. So you should get the correct answer right here. Well, hopefully you guys can follow. Any problems, please type in the chat box and I'll try to assist you. Okay, so if there are no problems, let me continue with this. And the third task here is to calculate the CP of a mixture of two gases. So the mixture, these gases will be 21% oxygen and 79% nitrogen. So I purposely use this design to show you that you can use the user-defined functions inside calculations in Excel. So let's say I can type equal here, this cell, multiply by CP, the name here, the temperature here, plus 79% multiplied by CP, and do here, temperature here. And you can get the answer. There's probably something wrong with this answer, but sorry, I might have coded it wrongly. So this should be the correct answer here, 26.270. So hope you guys understand that any user-defined function that you create can be used inside existing Excel calculations. It's just the same as any other function. There's no difference in when we're using it. Yeah, so that's very simple thing here. So the correct answer is this. I think if you type in the correct answer, you will not show a tick because there's something wrong with the programming here, but if you get this answer, you are correct. Yeah, so I'll give you a few seconds. If you have any questions, so feel free to type in the chat box. I'll be happy to answer them. Otherwise, we'll be moving on to our third and last example for today. All right, hopefully no questions. If no, I will move on to the third and last example. So let me go back to the slide here and boop. So previously I give an example from chemical engineering. Those from an economics background or science background might be saying, hey, I want something too. So I'm going to give you one example that works for economics students. So this is a microeconomics example. So let's say Steve here is a successful businessman. So he is selling, let's say, hand sanitizers, right? Hand sanitizers are in great demand nowadays. So he wants to know his profits, but for some reason he forgot to record his profits. I have no idea why, but let's just assume that he forgot to record his profits. So in microeconomics, we have a concept called marginal profit. So marginal profit is the profit from selling 1 unit of the product, and this marginal profit can change according to how many products that you're selling. So let's just say that he has plotted some data here, and this shows the marginal profit with respect to the number of bottles or units that you sell, and the total profit can be obtained by integrating the P, the Q with Q. So integration is calculus. We don't want to use calculus here because we want to make our life easy, and calculus is not that easy for many people. But we can get a good estimate by drawing rectangles under the curve, and I just sum up the area of the rectangle. The definition of the integral is simply the area under the curve, but I can estimate it by just drawing rectangles. For these white spaces will be some error here, but probably the error is not that important here. So I can develop a function, total profit, that will let me get the area under the curve. Right. So let me go back to the IDE here. And I'm going to right click here, insert module. So let me name it example 3. And let me rename this for example 2 so I can get confused here. We go to example 3. I'm going to delete this option explicitly here because I don't want to keep declaring variables, but actually we are supposed to. And I'm going to go into Excel. And I'm going to go into example 3 here, and you can see that we have this data here. So for your convenience, I give you the data in a table form. So this will be a more advanced application where we have to access the data from a sheet, and then I will introduce to you what is the range object. We use the range object to get this data out and put it inside the VBA IDE. So let me define a function, public function, just to be safe here. I'm going to call it total profit. I'm going to name the inputs x values and y values. And function will show automatically. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to loop through. I'm going to use a loop. And I'm going to go through 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. So these 9 numbers. I'm going to go through these 9 numbers. And so for a loop, I will need something like I just to move the loop around. So I use beam I as integer here. I'm going to in a for loop for I equals to 1 to, let's say, 9 here. And then we have the next and the loop. And then inside I'm going to type. So I want to calculate the area of the rectangle. So let me go back to the slide here. And the area of the rectangle is 5 multiplied by the value in the first list stop here, first stop. So in this case, the value is 5 multiplied by 50. Multiplied by 50. So I'm going to type in, I'm going to define a new variable current area equals to 5 multiplied by, okay, so the problem here is how I'm going to get out the value of 50 from the sheet. So the way to get out here is to get it from this y values variable. This is actually a range object. So I'm going to introduce a new window here. You can click on view, locals window. So you show it a locals window. The locals window, you can drag it around like this. And the locals window tells you the value of variables inside the function without having to export the value of the output of the function. And I'm going to introduce a new thing here. Look at this bar. You can click on anywhere in this bar, it will show a red dot. This is called a breakpoint. A breakpoint is when a function the Excel will run the function until it reaches a breakpoint, and then it will pause the function. And when it pauses the function, the value will be shown here in the locals window. So let me try to get the first value first. So the way to get the value of a range object is, let me just debug for green name of the y value. So I can show you that it's actually a range object. And then I'm going to get out the value for the first 9 numbers. So the way to get it from a range object is y value dot, sorry, let's name it properly. Bracket I, comma 1. This means the I row, first column. So you must have a row and column. So you close this bracket and then you type in dot value. So the reason why it has a value is that this is a property of the range object. So this is actually related to the object-oriented programming example that I mentioned earlier. So it's a bit difficult to explain now, but just to tell you that you can get it by typing in this way. So I'm going to debug here just to make sure that it works properly. And let me go back to the sheet here. I'm going to type in equal total profit bracket, and I'm going to highlight this y value, this x values here, comma y value. So you can see when I press enter, it jumps back into the IDE, it stops at the next year and it goes through I equals to 1. So the first sentence, debug to type name at y values, tells me that it's a range object. So a range object represents cells inside a sheet, and it gives me the value of the first row, which is 50. You can see the locals menu, the window has updated with x values is a object range and variant because the cell can contain numbers or string, and y same thing. Total profit is empty because I am not assigned any values and it's not defined, and I is equal to 1. So I can keep running it. I can click run. So you see I keep increasing and the values are being detected. So you can see here that this is how I would do it. And if I click 1, it will be the last one, and I click 1, it will go back to repeat the function. So let me stop this. Let me clear this. And it shows a value of 0 because I haven't done anything yet. So let me go back. So now I'm sure that it can detect the value properly. So let me comment out these two debug lines and let me define a new variable, current area equals to 5 multiplied by this. Make sure to put in a space here if you want to, and then I'm going to put in area, total area equals to total area plus current area. And just to be safe, I'm going to define total area as 0 and start. Perhaps I should define the other variables as well. Bin current area as double, and I'm adding the total area here too. And then let's make sure that it works. Let me type in the debug statement here, total area. Okay, so let me save it here and go back to the sheet. I'll click here and enter. So it should show one by one the total areas until the last one. But there should only be 8 areas because if you go back to the slides, there are only 8 rectangles. 9 data points give you 8 rectangles. So there are 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. So you get 8 rectangles here. So the final answer is expected to be 19,500 here. So this is supposed to be the final answer. So let me stop it here and let me stop it here and let me click once again. Then this will remove the breakpoint so that it doesn't keep stopping the function when it reaches the breakpoint. And I go back here and type in. So what is my mistake here? Again, I forgot to assign the function answer into the output. So let me assign total profit into total area. So let me save the answer of total profit total area into this variable. I'm going to comment out this line, and I'm going to save it here, and I'm going to run it. Oops, something's wrong here. So what's wrong here is that wait a minute. Okay, so I think the problem here is that I give the wrong answer to you. So this should be the correct answer. So let's give you guys and try it out, and you can tell me if you look at the same answer. If no, then there's probably something wrong here. Okay, so I think that sums up the total of everything I want to say about this simple workshop here. And these are just 3 very simple examples that you can use on VBA, and let me go through these key takeaways. So basically 4 key takeaways. Now, first, anyone can start coding. Anyone can be doing programming. Anyone can write a program. Just not only computer science graduates. You don't have to be a computer science graduate. The second is that VBA is a good starting point. So many other languages are considered as object-oriented programming languages, such as I think R, Python, Spark. They are considered as OOP languages. So if you start out with VBA, it gives you some familiarity to transition to other languages, or you could also continue to work on VBA. And the good thing of VBA is there are only 4 elements, basically: variables, operators, function and subs, and branching and loops. Simple as that. Just 4 elements. You know this, you're a master in VBA. But how you use VBA is, of course, up to you. And that's all, folks. Don't wait. If you want just open Excel and just type something in, and you can be you won't be a master in one day, but you can be sort of familiar with VBA in a very short time, because it's very easy, and most people do have Microsoft software such as Excel that you can immediately jump in and start running this VBA code. So I think my presentation is going to end now. So I'm going to open the floor to questions, and I think Angeline or Junhan, please take over the floor. Back to you.
All right. Okay. Thank you again, right, for the informative presentation. So like any other skills to master VBA in Excel, I'm sure that what it takes is still through consistent practicing, right? So now I would like to pass the room to my partner Angeline to continue with our Q&A session. Right. Angeline.
So, hi everyone. Now we come to the Q&A sections to answer questions from our participants' response. So, Raytian, the first question is how VBA is useful for chemical engineering students?
Good question. How VBA is useful for chemical engineering students? Well, you could say that just not chemical engineering students in particular, but actually working people, VBA works pretty well in many cases. Even I use VBA in my working life for mass and energy balances, and actually that what inspired me to learn VBA at the first place. So there are a few good examples that you can calculate with VBA, like heat capacity is one thing, enthalpy is one thing, solving the equation of state is one thing. So you might have a cubic equation of state, you have to solve it using a numerical method, and VBA is a very easy way because you can iterate over the numerical method to solve it. So there are three of the most important ways to use VBA. There are also other applications like you can calculate the equilibrium constant, you can calculate the saturation factor or rate constant, or even heat release, heat absorbed by a heat exchanger or something like that. The only key takeaway here is that VBA is a tool, and after all, it's just a programming language. If you have some data in Excel that you want to automate or you want to calculate automatically, VBA is going to do that for you. So it depends on how you formulate the question, how you write out how you are thinking, your way of thinking of solving the question, and you can just code something in VBA. So VBA is just a tool. It depends on how you use it. Yeah, so that would be my simple answer to this question. If you want a very long explanation, I think it might take hours. But I think this is a very simple explanation. I hope you guys can get what I mean from the reply just now. Yeah, Angeline.
Thank you. Then we will proceed to the next questions. Besides integrating VBA with Microsoft Office product, what more can be done using VBA?
Besides integrating Microsoft Office products, what more can be done with VBA? I would say not really. The simple answer is no. The long answer is that VBA is created by Microsoft, and it is specifically integrated into Microsoft applications. So if you want to use VBA outside of Microsoft, you can do that, but it's very difficult, and usually I won't recommend that. So if you have data outside of a Microsoft application and you want to use it in VBA, I recommend you just put it in Excel and then just run it. So that's a simple way. If you still want to use VBA outside, there are several operating environments that you can use, but then we perhaps merit a longer discussion on this. So the simple way is just to format your data in a way that Excel or Word can open it, put it inside those Microsoft applications, and you can run it there. This is so simple. Yeah, so that's my reply to that.
So that's a good answer for us. Furthermore, could you please explain to us how to assign a formula, for example, cell B1 that meets the criteria in cells A1 and A2?
Okay. You want cell B1 to meet the criteria in A1 and A2. I think I have to show this on my sheet here. It's not really a VBA question. You can do it with VBA, but there's not really any point in doing that. So let's say I want let's say this cell B1, this cell is 1, and I want, if both cells are 1, I want to show the answer yes. So I'm going to type equal if bracket, And we will show this. So this is a if-else statement inside Excel itself. So I can give this, and I click on the first cell, equal 1, and then if it's true, I'm going to say a string yes. And if the value is false, I'm going to give a string no. So it's going to say yes. So this is actually a very simple if-else application in Excel without using VBA. You can do it in VBA, but if your case is very simple, perhaps you can just use it using functions. So now I have made this function work with one cell. If I need to have two cells, what I do is I use the keyword and bracket, and here I comma, second one equals to 1, close bracket here, and it will show yes if both are equal to 1. So if I change this to 0, it will show no. So this is a very simple application of if-else statement inside Excel, and I hope that's what you want. Hope I answered the question.
Thank you for the explanations. So we will continue with the questions. Is VBA an open source?
Very good question. I think it's a very paramount question. Is VBA open source? The simple answer is no. VBA is not open source. An open source language means that if I have the language, I can modify the source code behind the scenes of that language. So that's open source. So in this case, VBA is not, because it's owned by Microsoft. If you do anything to the language, Microsoft will come and find you and sue you or something like that. But the reason why most people use open source languages is because anyone can use it. They don't have to pay and so on. But for me, I believe that since VBA is very well integrated in almost many Microsoft Office applications, and almost everyone has a Microsoft Office application, so I would argue that despite not being open source, VBA is actually very useful in daily life. So I hope that answers the question.
Thank you, Wei-Jie. Another question from the participant is about how to exchange data between MATLAB and Excel.
How to exchange data between MATLAB and Excel? My first question back to you will be, why do you want to do that? But if you really want to do that, my answer would be, you can prepare the data in Excel and import into MATLAB. So let me go back to my Excel here. Let me delete these three if-else statements. You can save your data. Let's say I click Save As here, and you can save it in the format of CSV. This one. Then if you save it in this format, you can access the file in MATLAB, and you can extract the data from MATLAB. That's the simple answer to this question. So that's the way to exchange data with MATLAB and Excel. And if you have data in MATLAB, you want to move to Excel, you can just copy out, or you can save it as a CSV file, and Excel will open it. You can open it with Excel. So that's a simple explanation to this question. Yeah, back to you, Anjali.
Thank you for answering. Now we will move to the another questions. Does Wei-Jie have any advice for the beginners to learn coding?
Advice to beginners. Well, I'm a beginner myself, so I'm not sure if I'm qualified to give advice. But a simple way of saying this is that you have got to start. You just have got to start somewhere. And I think for many people, the two main reasons for why you will not start to learn programming is, one, you think programming is difficult, or two, you don't know which programming language to learn. Because there are so many, and you're not sure if you spend your time learning this will help you in your future. The simple answer is, why don't you try VBA? So there are two ways for learning VBA. One is to sign up for a free online course. There are many online courses available on Coursera, edX, Udemy, LinkedIn Learning, and so on. That's a very structured way to learn VBA, and it's frankly a bit boring if you don't like this kind of structured ways. And the second way that I recommend is when you're doing something in Excel, let's say I'm just doing a normal graph or what, try to think of a way that you can use VBA to do it. Just open up the IDE and then just type in some code and pop, see what happens, what comes in as the answer. And because you already have an answer to compare this code to, it's easier for you to check if there's anything wrong with the answer. And so you can it gives you a motivation. When once you get the answer correct, then you're happy that you managed to do something. It will give you the motivation to do more and to learn more. So that's how I myself learn VBA. I have an Excel sheet that I'm calculating mass balances. I started with the one part which I already know the answer to, which I already have a calculation in Excel, and I use VBA to try to get the same answer. So when I get the same answer, I'm very happy, or I'm motivated. Finally, I got this right after like hundreds of times of errors. But of course, if you do it properly, it's actually pretty easy. You just have to draft it out before you try to type in coding. And once you start the ball rolling, it gets very easy. Anything you see something, you realize, oh, this can be done better with VBA. Then I will open up the editor and type something to it. So this is a very good example of how VBA can help you automate very difficult tasks. For something like this, you need a graph paper and you have to take out a pencil and start drawing. But the VBA, no. You can just use the data automatically and you can just calculate in the sheet itself. Very simple, without the need for any specialized software or any specialized tools or even a piece of paper. There's no need to. You can just run it immediately in VBA. So that's how I suggest any beginners start to learn VBA. Just find any application that you are doing and just try to use it, do it in VBA and see if you can get the same answer. If yes, then good. If no, go back and see what went wrong in the code. So that will be my advice to you. So back to you, Anjali.
Thank you, Wei-Jian. So now we will proceed to the Q&A sessions for the participants to ask the questions. So if any participant has questions, please kindly drop down your question in the chat box and we will try to answer your question. Thank you.
Yeah, sure. Please feel free to drop a question. We have some time to go, and well, let's have a chit chat about any questions that you have before we adjourn for the day. So yeah, feel free to type in the chat box if you have any questions. I think a question from Shiva is that can I send a recorded workshop to participants? Yes, but the recording will not be that useful. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to send you the solutions to all the problems, and you can try it out yourself and compare the solution. Perhaps that will be a better idea because a recording in a programming class is a bit funny. Okay. So next question by Sin Hong. Today's lesson really useful, but I found the pace is relatively fast. Okay, first, thanks for finding very useful. I hope you appreciate it. And the pace is pretty fast, yes, because we are in a limited time span here. But just to recap a little bit, you only need to know 4 main elements of VBA: variables, operators, functions and subroutines, branching and loops. And as long as you know these 4, you can do anything. You can do anything. That's what I'm trying to tell you. Of course, there are many other functions in VBA. There are very complicated functions. There are things that you can rearrange data and so on. But to be frank, as long as you master the basics, you can do anything in VBA. You can do anything in VBA. So I hope overall you find this syntax, this pace a bit fast, but I hope you like it very much. And it's a big overview of what VBA really can offer you in terms of value. Yeah. Third question from Akayudi. Is there any source or syntax of VBA? Yes, there is. And the VBA syntax is given on the Microsoft website. So if you want, I would say the simple way is that, let's say, let me go to my browser here, and let me go to just search. The simple way is that if you want to know any syntax, there's a lot of resources on the internet. There are even ready-made code that you can just copy-paste. And let's say how to make a do while in VBA. And it's going to show you. Simple as that. Let me find a Microsoft one. So the good thing about VBA, there are a lot of sample codes that you can just copy paste and modify based on the requirements. And that's the good thing about VBA because it's very accessible. Almost everyone has it. So yeah. So if you want a syntax, the actual syntax is in the Microsoft website. Let me show you if I can find it. So Microsoft Docs gives you the exact documentation on how to code in VBA. So I'm going to share with you the link here. So what happens is that Microsoft has a list of all the functions, all the data types, all the variables, all the operations that you can use, and it's readily available in the Microsoft website. So I'm going to share in the chat box here. And yeah, so you can have a look. So you can see that, for example, these are variable types. There are probably more than 10 variable types here. And yes, because it's not open source programming language, it is controlled by Microsoft. So everything is fixed by Microsoft here. In a way, it's not a good thing, but in another way, I would say it's actually good because it means that any code you write can be read by another person, and you are sure that you are sure that it will work in another computer because the code is the same. Yeah, the language is the same. So that's what I'm going to say here. So Microsoft Docs has a lot of information regarding how to use operators, functions, subroutines, and so on. Okay, let me go to the next question right here. Can we receive the certificate of participation? Yes, please liaise with IChemE student chapter. Sihong has a question. Can the script be shared so that the participants can try at home later on? Yes, I will share the script to you. Thanks, Sihong. Because and I will also share to you the solutions for the extra credit questions if you have a look at it. Those are more difficult, but I would not like to cover them because there is a lot of new terms coming up. But I will share it to you so that you can have a look at the how you do advanced functions in Excel and VBA. It's actually easier than you think. Don't worry. Okay, the next question is macros useful? Okay, this will need some explanation about what is macros. So let me go back to my Excel here and maybe the IDE. Okay, so let me go back to example 1. Let me go back to this first example, the very first example here. So when I click on run, this is a macro. The simple explanation is that any macro is actually just a subroutine. Yeah, any macro is just a subroutine. So if you have a macro, so I'm going to show you one simple macro here, just to give you some ideas for what are macros. You can click on developer tab here. You can click on record macro. Let's give it a name, macro 1. Okay. Then it will start recording. So let's say I'm going to key in here and type A, just like that. And then I click stop recording. Then when I go back to my IDE, you'll see a new module has magically appeared. And this is basically a subroutine. So a macro is actually an easy way to write subroutines. And Excel helps you write, based on whatever you just did, Excel helps you write in the subroutine code for yourself. So you can see here, Excel actually type in the value A and then he click another cell. So this is a macro. So yeah, macros are very useful when you're starting to learn because you can do something in Excel and then when you record the macro, you come back to the IDE, it tells you exactly how to write in the code to do whatever that you just recorded. So that's a very simple way to learn how to code in Excel, VBA, and yeah, I agree with you in that when you say macros are very useful. Alright, next question. Akayuki said, just a suggestion, some exercises can be sent later for practice. Yes, I'm going to send you the exercises as I mentioned earlier. I'm going to send you more exercises. And if you go back to your sheet here, let's say you select these 2 cells, you right click and click on hide. There are some questions here that you can try out. And I'm going to send you the solutions for them later, so don't worry about that. I'm just a bit worried that if I show you here, it will be very rushed and you'll be bombarded with a lot of new information. Yeah, so don't worry, I'll send you the exercises. It's a good suggestion, and yes, I'm doing that to you. Okay, John Howe asks, could you share your experience on using VBA in your working environment? I'm not sure how much of it is supposed to be classified, but I think I went through just now about the examples that I said during uh, how to use VBA in chemical engineering, and I use almost all of them. I use VBA for heat capacity, I use VBA for enthalpy, I use VBA for mass balance, I use VBA for enthalpy balance, I use VBA for equation of state solving, I use VBA for uh, density calculations, viscosity calculations. I use VBA for formatting data. That means I arrange my data properly. I change the decimal points, for example. I write down the columns, for example. Yeah, so there are actually too many things to list down. You can, in fact, write down the whole flow sheet in VBA, and you can do everything you want in VBA, but it will be time consuming and it will be difficult to explain here. So I can see what I can say is that as long as you can write in the formula, there's a formula with an answer at the back. So CP equals to something, VBA can do it. Simple as that. That will be my simple answer to this question. So VBA is very useful in process simulation, but not in the way that you think. That means I can't just ask it to give me a simulation. You can't. You have to put in the formula and let VBA do it for you, because VBA is just a tool, and you have to know how to use the tool properly. That's what I'm saying. But VBA is also a good thing to verify data that you get from process simulations. Let's say you have some external data about the heat capacity of a stream, enthalpy of a stream. You can use VBA, roughly calculate your values, and you can verify the simulations answers. So make sure that you are not using the wrong, let's say, the wrong equation of state or the wrong fluid package and so on. Yeah, so that will be my answer to that. VBA by itself cannot do process simulation because VBA is not a simulation software. But VBA can be used to help you do process simulation, but you have to give it directions on how to use it properly. So that's what I'm going to answer you. Yeah, hopefully that answers your question. Alright, any other questions? I'm seeing probably some questions. Okay, I think there are no more questions. So Angeline, maybe you can take back the floor.
Okay, thank you, Wei Jian. So if the participants still have any questions, kindly drop down your questions in the chat box and we will get back to you later. So I think finally we come to the end of the part of our workshop. We would like to thank Wei Jian again for sharing his wealth of knowledge with us in this workshop. Hopefully we can take what he taught us and put it to good use. Thanks again for everyone who joins the workshop. Hope all of you stay safe and healthy. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you very much, Angeline, and thank you very much you guys for joining this workshop. Hope you guys found it useful, and I would like to wish you happy coding. If you have any you would like to ask, but it's difficult to put it inside the chat box. You can drop an email to me if you just want to say thank you, or you have a few suggestions, or you want to send me an appreciation email. Feel free to just send me an email. I'm okay with answering emails even in Saturday, Sundays. Don't worry about that. I don't have such a time. I welcome you guys to connect with me on LinkedIn. If you want to give me a shout out on LinkedIn, then feel free to. I'll be happy. And if you have any suggestions on using Excel for questions, you would like to ask me, or you want to suggest to me to give you a solution, feel free to do that. I'm always online on LinkedIn. I'm quite active, I think. And I guess that's all for me. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Wei Jian. So to introduce myself, I'm the president of IChemE Student Chapter Malaysia, Ning Sing. So thank you guys for supporting our workshop. I hope you guys can stay tuned on our social media. So we will send a link in the chat box later. So please support us so to stay tuned on future activities such as online webinars or online workshops. So thank you guys. Stay safe and thanks Wei Jian once again.
Yeah, sure. Thank you very much.